5 of the fantasy basketball season is here, and here's a few centers you should try to get on the low this week in a trade. The first guy is DeAndre Jordan of the Brooklyn Nets. Last week, before the James Harden trade, DeAndre Jordan, he was a guy definitely not on the fantasy radar, but now he's back starting in the rotation. The Nets, they don't really have a big man except Jordan, Perry, and Nick Claxton, which those guys, they have no experience. So Jordan on the season, he's 136th ranked, and the last week now since he started, 7.7 points a game, 9.7 rebounds, 2.5 assists, 1.7 blocks, and he's giving you 83% from the field. And on the season, his average is 5 points a game, 7 rebounds, 2 assists, 1.3 blocks, 55% from the line, and 78% from the field. So DeAndre Jordan, he's going to be a player. He's not going to score the basketball much, obviously, especially with Durant, Harden, and Irvin there, and Harris. But he's going to get some block shots. He's going to get a few rebounds. And I think he can help many fantasy teams. And you definitely could go out there and get him on the cheap. Like I said, he was on the fantasy waiver wire, available in 50% plus leagues. Now his ownage jumped all the way up to 70. So teams, they just picked him up. But he's a guy I would go out there and try to target, because you don't have to give up much, like I said, to get him in a deal. You could give up a guy at the end of your bench, or just a guy struggling who you don't want anymore. And I think that could land Jordan. The second player I would try to target and trade for this week's James Wiseman of the Golden State Warriors. Wiseman, he started off the season well, but now the last week or two, the struggles have continued, and that's normal for a rookie. He's ranked 165 on the season, is Wiseman, and his averages on the year: 10 points a game, 6 rebounds, 1.5 blocks. He's not going to give you threes, 58% from the line and 48% from the field, so he's going to hurt you in field goal. He's still a big guy that could get rebounds and score the basketball on a lot of putbacks. He's still young. He's 19 years old, and he's a raw talent. He's not polished yet, obviously. He only played 4 games in college, but just on raw talent and athleticism, I think this guy can help the Warriors this season, and he can help fantasy teams, and you're not going to have to give up the premium or anything great to get him. He might even be available on some waiver wires. He's available only in 19% of fantasy leagues, but James Wiseman, he's definitely a guy I would target, because I think as the year goes on, this rookie's going to take the next step and develop and play better the next few weeks and the rest of the season. So I would try to get him. The next center is Karl-Anthony Towns of the Minnesota Timberwolves. Towns this season, he's just been injured and not healthy, and now he's on the list with the illness. He's out, and who knows how long he's going to be out. But Towns in limited games this season, the numbers were still there: 22 points a game, 12.5 rebounds, 4.3 assists, 2.8 blocks, 1.5 threes, a whopping 96% from the field foul line, and 46% from the field. On the season, he's ranked 170th. He only played a handful of games as Towns. He was out with the dislocated wrist, which he only missed 6 games. I thought he was going to miss more. And then on the COVID list now, so we'll see how long he's out. But this is the best time to buy him low. Karl-Anthony Towns, many owners took him in the top 5 of fantasy drafts, and they're definitely frustrated with the first dislocated injury, and now him getting ill here is Towns. So Towns, his value's at its lowest it could be right now, and if you could swing a deal where you're not getting ripped off, or you buy him low, it's a deal you make. But if I got a player who's obviously been a first rounder the whole season, and you drafted him and he's having a better year than Towns, you don't make that deal. But if you could get him on the low, or for a 2-for-1 deal where you're not giving up much to get him, you do that. The fourth center is Enes Kanter of the Portland Trailblazers. Kanter, he's the man over there now, starting at center for this Blazer team after Nurkic went down with a broken wrist, and he's out at least 8 weeks of the reports. And Kanter this season, he's been balling out. He's ranked number 51 in fantasy, 10 points, 9.3 rebounds, an assist a game, 82% from the foul line, and 62% from the field. Kanter, he's not going to give you threes. He's not going to block shots or pass the ball. But this guy, he gets that double-double down almost every night, and he's almost averaging it. So Kanter, I always say this, he's a better fantasy player than a reality player, but he's going to help fantasy teams. He's going to help the field goal, the free throw, he's pretty good at too, and he's going to get points and rebounds. He's going to help you in 4 or 5 categories. You're not going to give much up for Kanter, I believe. Even with Nurkic out, I don't think people are valuing Kanter that high, and he's still available, believe it or not, in 39% of fantasy leagues, even after the injury to Nurkic. So Enes Kanter, he's a definite buy low candidate. And the 5th and final center, I would try to target and buy in a deal this week, Serge Ibaka of the Los Angeles Clippers. Ibaka, he's been struggling the last week or two now, and on the season, he's ranked 101, and his stats this year, 11 points, 6.2 rebounds, 1.8 assists, 1.2 blocks, 77% from the line, and 51% from the field, and he gives you a 3 a game. Ibaka, though, in the last week, his numbers have dropped, though. 9 points, 3 boards, 3.5 assists, 1.5 blocks, still 66% from the field, and 100% from the line. So Serge Ibaka, he's going to help you in a lot of categories, and he's not really going to hurt you in anything. Yeah, some games he's going to have mediocre games where he's going to have 7 points and like 4 rebounds, but that you can live with. He's the starting center there for Los Angeles. He could have been the missing piece that they missed last season, and they signed him here. And Zubac, he's no threat really to his minutes. So I think Serge Ibaka is going to be fine, and he's a good candidate to buy low at the center position, and another guy you don't have to break the bank to trade for. So that's a few centers I would try to buy low and trade for here in week 5 of the fantasy basketball season.